Chapter 6. Plum. As I listened to Dr. Frank's story, I couldn't help but think of Ma, of how, even when I was too small to know better, all the love she poured over me like a thick syrup was not built to last. How sweet the syrup, but its thickness suffocated me until I couldn't breathe. Even in those early years before she left, Ma's love felt so deep and unbinding. But there was an edge to that love that felt impossible to sustain. What if she had loved me a little less? What if she had allowed herself to be a little more real? Just before the internship began, I visited a friend traveling through town with their partner and their 2 small children. We sat outside on a wooden bench, drinking ale and eating shrimp tacos, the juice dripping down our palms as we caught up. She was a friend from my time on the streets, and both of our lives had changed greatly since we last had seen one another. It had been many years since we had kept in touch, before she found her partner, before they'd given birth to their 2 small daughters. One of the daughters was in want of some attention, and she wedged her body between my friend's armpit and ribcage. She suctioned the air out like a piece of plastic plastered against a mirror, just like Ba and I did all those years ago, our sticky bodies tethered as we slumbered in the car in the middle of the afternoon in front of that dumpling house. It was a rare moment of joy between the 2 of us, and watching such a similarly tender scene as an adult made me smile to myself. After a few minutes of holding her child next to her body while she continued her conversation, my friend said something to her child I didn't expect a mother to say. "Can you please go play with your sister?" she asked brusquely, a question phrased more as a dictate. "It's boring, I don't want to," the child whined, nestling deeper into her side as a response, a sweet rebellion. "Well, I'm going to finish this beer with my friend, and your hovering next to me is annoying me. I'd like you not to bother me until this beer is empty, please," my friend retorted. The child rolled her eyes and promptly, but begrudgingly, detached her body from her mother's. And I was taken with how the child responded. She wasn't particularly insulted or even disappointed that her mother didn't want her company at this particular moment. It was an interaction between mother and child I'd never quite seen before. I often think of that moment, of the freedom a mother can have in taking herself off a pedestal, the same one that the child often mounts with her. If Ma hadn't felt the pressure to love me so perfectly, or even Ba for that matter, would she have stayed? She reached out to me through social media some years back. Ma said she'd been thinking about how she left, that she wanted to mend things. She asked if I was open to meeting with her. I replied that I would meet with her and gave her a few options for times that I was available. I asked her to meet me at a nearby park a few days later during my day off, a place that was neutral but relatively private. I agreed to meet with her mostly out of curiosity to hear what she would say, how she could possibly atone for how she had left us. I would never find out what she had to say, if anything. She postponed 3 or 4 times before I told her I couldn't handle how difficult it seemed for her to make this one commitment to me, especially after having made so few in my life. At first, Ma tried to play the victim, but this was a mechanism I already knew from before. I wasn't interested in carrying that story for her, which is exactly what I told her. Our back and forth eventually sputtered out. I haven't heard from her since. But now, hearing Dr. Frank's story of how much she and her mother idolized each other, I wonder if Ma just could never release the pressure she'd built into herself to be the perfect image of a mother. How much space did that image put between the 2 of us, between love and anger and disappointment and sadness and resentment and trust and safety? When a mother leads a child to also mother the mother, does the child cease to exist?